Hey everyone, Noah here. Have you ever thought about how weird it is that we can just listen to all the most popular music of the past generations? Just think that before recording music became popular, we could only listen to live performances. And even consider Beethoven. We have music notation, but before standardization, every culture had their own methods of writing down how music should sound. This made me also think about how there was a lawsuit semi-recently with one artist accusing another artist of stealing some melodic structure. Ed Sheeran was one of these kind of people who were accused, and so he would go around all the late night shows and all these kind of places and would have this bit put together, and he would play through a bunch of different songs, seamlessly going between them because the melodic structure was almost exactly the same. There was no accusation of theft then, and so there shouldn't be now. It's quite a good argument and a good way of expressing it. Out of reaction to that, there were a series of computer scientists who said, how can we help? And so what they did was they put together a program that put together every single combination of notes that could be made into a melodic structure, threw it onto a hard drive, sent it into the Library of Congress, and said, this is open copyright. Everyone can use these melodic structures, and it kind of has mapped the entirety of melodies that are potentially possible. This has often been played as this kind of like feel-good moment in freedom of art. And to me, it's almost scary. And that might seem strange, but I can't get around the feeling that there's something weird about mapping out a portion of art entirely. I mean, we can never consider this, right? We have digital art. You could think of, set an arbitrary canvas, a 32 by 32 square. There are a limited number of pixel combinations that can be in that square. The first pixel can be black or white or red, then the second pixel. So what if we just filled out every single combination? We have free art. There can be no one who can copy, but there's also no one who can create. No one can make something new in that size of a canvas. And so when we kind of digitize and categorize art like this, we don't allow for exploration. I think about being able to search my backyard, right? Go on a trail and explore and experience something for the first time. I don't lose anything by knowing that whole region is mapped. Right? There's if I go into a park, there's a park service that knows that park super well. Or maybe they have some backwoods that they don't know of, but they know the general terrain and they have maps for it. But there's something unique about that exploration. And it doesn't require somebody not to have known about it, but it does require for me not to know the people who searched it originally. Because then I'm just copying off of them, right? If I'm writing a song and I know my ancestors wrote the same type of song, that's not new. I'm not going into unfamiliar ground. I'm going into very familiar ground. But if I'm allowed to kind of build structures by myself, I can engage in the same way that people long ago did with music. But when we have recorded all this music and we have jazz, and jazz is a genre that's developed, and we have new genres developing. We have hip hop, and we have jazz is a relatively new genre, but when we go back, the only genre we have is folk music. Because folk music is the music that people play. That's generically what it means. And it's bizarre to kind of emerge out of that. I worry a little bit that we've reached a point where we can't forget anything anymore. Everything has to be compared to something else. If somebody has a really good voice, they'll compare it to Frank Sinatra. And no one can come into their own, even if they are exactly like Frank Sinatra. Our generation can't have a Frank Sinatra because Frank Sinatra is our Frank Sinatra. And so there's something lost. I'm just kind of playing around with these ideas. But it's scary. One thing that comes to mind too is this idea of, like, we have super rapid development of genres too, right? Folk music has been kind of historically constant. We have the music that one generation passes on to the other, and they might make some changes, but for the most part it's almost exactly the same. The stories might get embellished, but like it's all there. Now we have music that's constantly changing. So much so that we have a whole genre of music in hip-hop that samples other music. That there's almost this feeling that all of it's been so mapped out already that there's the need to go back and say, no, I'm not going to use regular instruments. I'm going to use someone else's instrument from this song to evoke this emotion. This is untreaded territory. This is new. And it's obviously a little scary. I love hip-hop. I greatly enjoy it. I love being able to notice samples that kind of loop back to my own childhood and evoke certain emotions. But there's something about a song developing emotions from the ground up that it doesn't have to rely on something else. That it's able to create something entirely new, or ostensibly entirely new. I'm kind of babbling here, but I thought this is something that would be nice to reflect on. Hope you all have a great day, and see you in a week.